system comprises of bones, cartilage, joints, and ligaments, which make up about 20% of the body mass. The adult human body is made up of 206 bones, but a baby has about 300 bones because many of them later fuse together. Two sections of human skeleton. 1. Axial skeleton. 2. Appendicular skeleton. The axial skeleton contains 80 bones and is found in the head and torso. The axial skeleton includes skull, vertebral column, and the thoracic cage. The appendicular skeleton contains 126 bones and is found in the appendages/limbs. The appendicular skeleton includes arms and legs, pelvis, and shoulder girdle. Skull. The skull is a fascinating or bony structure made up of 22 flat bones. Flat bones are bones which protect internal organ. The skull is classified into two parts. 1. Cranial bones, 8 bones that form the cranium and protect the brain. 2. Facial bones, 14 bones that give shape to the face. The flat bones of the cranium are joined together by serrated lines or immovable joints called suturas. The cranium is divided into two parts, namely 1. Vault/calvaria, the upper rounded part of the cranium. 2. Base, the floor of the cranium. The base of the cranium is made up of 3 fossae. A. Anterior cranial fossa houses the frontal lobes of the brain. B. Middle cranial fossa houses the temporal lobes of the brain. C. Posterior cranial fossa houses the cerebellum and medulla oblongata. Note, the 3 fossae form the brain cavity where the brain is located. The 8 cranial bones includes frontal bone, 2 parietal bone, 2 temporal bone, occipital bone, ethmoid bone, sphenoid bone. The 8 cranial bones are connected to each other with sutures. 1. Coronal sutures, located between the frontal and parietal cranial bone. 2. Sagittal sutures, located between 2 parietal bones. 3. Lambdoid sutures, located between parietal and occipital bone. 4. Occipitomastoid sutures, located between occipital and temporal bone. 5. Squamous sutures, located between parietal and temporal bone. 14 facial bones include mandible, lower jaw, 2 maxillary, upper jaw, vomer, 2 nasal, 2 inferior, nasal concha, 2 zygomatic, 2 palatine, 2 lacrimal. Note, the bone that sits below the mandible is called hyoid, and it is not connected to any other bone. Vertebral column. The vertebral column is also known as the spinal column or the spines. The spinal column comprises of 26 irregular bones in adult and 33 irregular bones in babies, which comes together to form a flexible, curvy S-shaped structure that support everything from the skull to the pelvis. The 5 sections of the vertebral column: 1. Cervical, C1 to C7. 2. Thoracic, T1 to T12. 3. Lumbar, L1 to L5. 4. Sacral/sacrum, in adult, 1. In baby, 5. 5. Coccyx, in adult, 1. In baby, 4. The thoracic cage. The thoracic cage comprises of the sternum, breastbone, ribs, and costal cartilage. The sternum is a single flat bone located at the middle of the thorax, which is made up 3 small bones fused together, which are 1. Manubrium, top part, which join with clavicle, also called collarbone. 2. Body, middle and longest part. 3. Xiphoid process. Part, which is cartilage in kids but become hardens to born in adults. There are 12 pairs of ribs projected from the vertebral. 1 to 7 pairs are called true ribs, which are connected to the sternum directly by costal cartilage. 5 pairs are false ribs, in which 3 pairs of them are connected to the sternum indirectly by costal cartilage, while the other 2 pairs, known as floating ribs, are not connected to the sternum at all. Costal cartilage is a flexible cartilage connecting the ribs to sternum, which allow the chest to expand when breathing. The pectoral girdle, shoulder bone. The pectoral girdle is made up of the clavicle, collarbone, and the scapula, shoulder blade, which gives structure to the shoulder and attach the upper limbs to the axial skeleton. The clavicle has two ends. One, sternal end, which is attached to the manubrium part of the sternum in front. Two, acromial end, which is attached to a chromion process of scapula at shoulder. The scapula is a thin, roughly triangular bone at the back of shoulder with three borders. One, the superior border, top edge. Two, the medial or vertebral border, inner edge near spine. Three, the lateral or axillary border, outer edge near armpit, upper limbs. The upper limbs include the arm, forearm, and hand. Arm. The arm is made up of the fourth largest bone called the humerus. The humerus has 5 parts which include 1. The greater tubercle, large bump on top. 2. The lesser tubercle, smaller bump on top. 3. The radial groove, groove for radial nerve. 4. The medial epicondyle, inner bump at elbow. 5. The lateral epicondyle, outer bump at elbow. Forearm. The forearm is made up of ulna and the radius, which are the 5th and the 6th longest bone respectively. The ulna and the radius are connected by a flexible ligament called interosseous membrane, which allow rotation. Hand. The hand consists of carpals, bone, 5 metacarpals, and the phalanges of the fingers. There are 3 phalanges, which are the proximal, middle, and the distal phalanges. Pelvic girdle. The pelvic girdle is also called hip girdle, and it connects the lower limbs to the axial skeleton. It has 2 hip bone, which include 1. Sacrum, triangular bone at back, made up of 5 fused sacral vertebrae. 2. Hip bone body / ox coxae, largest bone on each side. The hip body is made up of ilium, ischium, and pubis. Note, 1 hip bone equals 3 bones fused. They fuse at a acetabulum known as hip socket. Lower limbs. The lower limbs include the thigh, leg, and foot. Thigh. The thigh is made up of the largest bone known as the femur. Leg. The leg consists of 2 bones, which are the tibia and the fibula. The tibia and fibula are also separated by a flexible ligament called interosseous membrane. Foot. The foot consists the tarsus, 5 metatarsus, and phalanges of the toe. Joint is a point where 2 or more bones meet. Joint is also called articulation. Function of joint. 1. It allow movement. 2. It hold bones together. 3. It absorbs shock. Types of joint. 1. Fibrous joint. Fibrous joint are fixed or movable joint made up of dense fibrous connective tissues. Example of fibrous joint is skull joint. Sutures. 2. Cartilaginous joint. Cartilaginous joint are slightly movable joint made up of fiber cartilage or hyaline cartilage. Example is the vertebral joint. 3. Synovial joint. Synovial joint are freely movable joint made up of synovial fluid and cavity. Example of synovial joint. 1. Ball and socket joint, shoulder and hip. 2. Hinges joint, knee, elbow, and finger joint. 3. Pivot joint, axis and atlas in the neck. 4. Gliding / plane joint, wrist and ankle. 5. Saddle joint, thumb. 5. Ellipsoidal joint disorder. 1. Arthritis. Arthritis is the inflammation of the joint. 2. Dislocation. Bone displaced from normal position due to the effect of the ligament. 3. Sprain, overstretched ligament. 4. Bursitis, bursa inflammation, housemaid knee. Ligament and tendons. Ligament. Ligament is a white, fibrous, and less connective tissues that connect bones together. Ligament prevent dislocation. Tendons. Tendons is a white, fibrous, and more elastic tissues that connect muscles with bones. Tendons transmit muscle pull.